What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology horoscope for the weekend of October 26th and the 27th of 2024. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, fixed air moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all so much. Hope you had a great week. Welcome to the weekend. Happy Saturday, everybody. Well, one-on-one mentorships are live. You can email me at scarboroughb@protonmail.com if you are interested. Also, if you'd like a reading, you can email there too and inquire about that. But enough about that. Let's talk about astrology. This weekend, we are going to see a moon start off in Leo, but midday, going to ingress into Virgo. And this is definitely bringing our emotions kind of full circle into a hypercritical state of, like, especially in Scorpio season, like really trying to understand emotion, trying to understand our passion, what we can improve on, how to make things a little bit better. We can also be a little hard on ourselves, but that sextile to the sun's pretty nice. There is something about some of the deep work we can do right now and knocking some of the dust off in our lives and starting to kind of hone in more a little bit this weekend on our personal lives, our passions, what we can like dial in to improve and just get better. So think about like everything this weekend, especially Saturday, is like a how can I just get a little bit better instead of dwelling or beating ourselves up or being so critical and taking ourselves into a weird place. Because we don't have to go to a weird place. We really don't, because there's a weird quincunx with Jupiter and Mercury. There's a weird quincunx with Mercury and Chiron this weekend. So we got a yod. Finger of God pointing to Mercury, and even Eros over there in Scorpio. So a lot of this is about our mental fortitude in many ways, and being able to go deep and see things for what they are, be black and white, be critical, be just not harsh, not too judgmental though, but like to definitely understand things as they are and to not like sugarcoat things, but to improve off of them. Because if we're taking the necessary steps right now for the right process of being better in our life and cleaning out the stuff that needs to go anyways, it's just going to make things make much more sense, and we're going to feel more empowered and more in our sense of self and more identified with something bigger. And I think Jupiter in Gemini is definitely mind expanding, and Mercury dispositing that Jupiter in Scorpio is like, well, we gotta go deep and figure some things out right now. But there is something about getting quite the download. And we can either, again, with Chiron in the mix, and a moon in Virgo, we can either beat ourselves up and play a martyr, play victim, play way too hard, just hardball on ourselves, hardball on others, or we can get to the root of the matter and knock out the issue. And hopefully that moon in Virgo gives us, a little bit of the drive, if you will, and the dedication to just go through the process and to heal certain things because we can see them. So sometimes it's like we just got to go deep so that we can see things for what they are, so that we can really light up with whatever it is we find down there in the dark little pit inside of ourselves. But whatever's down there is definitely important, and you want to understand it as best you can, because it's gonna be super helpful if you do. Definitely interesting for relationships. We're seeing Mars at 26 degrees of Cancer, and it's starting to really oppose that Pluto. Or there's just an interesting thing for our own sense of self and what makes us feel good right now. And it's been heavily dependent on some of the Libra energies with the sun, but Juno's also there in Libra and a south node in Libra. And very interesting about like how the exterior world affects us. And if that drives us into this deeper place of introspection, of understanding, so that we can make the necessary tweaks. Mars is also trying that Neptune still, and Venus this weekend is going to start squaring Saturn. So that's where there's more interesting, like, sort of relationship stuff, but also self-worth stuff. Very interesting weekend of kind of almost like breaking ourselves down a little bit, but to build up in a really positive way. And to kind of see, like, how we're affected by external things, and if there's blocks or holdups or delays or things just don't go quite as planned, well, it's all for a reason, so that we can kind of dive deeper to the why and then figure out the why and expand on what is going to be better. As we look at Sunday, we're going to see a really big T-square to Venus with the moon and Saturn. So the moon's going to post Saturn in Pisces and square Venus. Venus is going to exactly square Saturn. So big T-square energy to Venus, which again, huge relationship, implications and like people in our life. And are they expanding? What are the restrictions? How hard are people being on you? And how hard are you being on yourself? And also, this quest is so interesting for just like self-worth and like growth and loving of self, because we have to remember the self with the North Node in Aries. We have to remember that with Chiron in Aries, and Mercury's still in that yod, and same with Eros. Like, it's important this weekend that we're able to understand in some way why we are affected outside of ourselves, that takes ourselves down a peg. And we do this to ourselves. And I think that this is one of those weekends where you can find a lot of growth and fortitude, which is just going to help more abundance come your way, which is just going to help you feel better, enjoy life more. Kind of like a good test on Sunday of like how to shake off somewhat heavy energy that could either give you a really good look at how to improve life and expand on the things that feel good and to build off of those and to stay dedicated to that process, or how to just completely spiral downhill because we're almost in a mental, emotional, just stronghold on ourselves because of exterior things that trigger our own self undoing in some ways, even with Saturn here in Pisces. So very interesting. Of course, Mars this weekend is still in that sextile with Uranus. So there's a lot of liberation that comes just through feeling good about ourselves. Not being so hard. Being willing to look at things as they are and to improve. But to not, to not expect perfection, because it just isn't really the thing right now. We got to do a lot of like deep transformation before we're going to get perfected form, but there's definitely ways to respond to life that is a more perfected form than where we could have been just yesterday or a week ago or a year ago. And I think there's something about the growth that we've all had to do within our own work of self-love and healing that is like, this is a great weekend to put that to the test. And to be like, how can I expand past things that are trying to make me want to be mean to myself? They're trying to make me want to get in this mental hamster wheel that's triggering all the things that don't actually, they're not really part of the story. So Venus is in a weird place here this weekend because it's trying to feel this story and this journey that can be so much more here in Sagittarius, and how to really know how to love itself and how to intuitively move and to be free. But it's getting these interesting points with the moon and Saturn that are like, well, some of it's karmic with people, some of it's just karmic with ourselves and how we think about ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. And Mercury's in that yod too. So it's a big test of like mental fortitude this weekend. How do you react to things? How do you communicate about things? How do you mentally understand where you're at in life? And I think if you have a strong mind this weekend, there's a lot of potential for excitement with Mars and Uranus in the sextile. There's a lot of passion that can be involved with Mars opposite Pluto. And even, squares to Venus. Like, things can get ignited in really pure ways if we're kind of doing the right thing and taking authority for our own mind and then putting that into how we relate to others and how we especially relate to ourselves without being so critical or needing perfection or thinking that's the only thing we can uncover, but kind of seeing how everything can just be a little bit better as long as we're easier on ourselves. And that can like spread and kind of create something magical in its own ways. So hope you have a great weekend. Definitely a lot of mental stuff, relationship stuff. interesting to see how everyone fares when a little tension comes. It's not so bad, though. I will say, too, like, Venus square Saturn, like, is a really good opportunity to see, like, who's kind of sticking around for the long term and who's not, you know? It's kind of like a good checkpoint. You get to see, like, who's, like, ride or die with Venus, Saturn, and same with yourself, and, like, who's, like, what part of yourself is ready to, like, commit more and put more work in to have better, and to, especially with, you know, Pisces and Sag, like, expand past boundaries and, like, not lose hope or imagination, and keep that dream machine flowing, if you will, despite, you know, having to kind of go through reality with the moon in Virgo and, like, day-to-day stuff, and can sometimes feel a little crusty with the moon in Virgo. Can also be super productive, though, so there's a lot of ways the weekend can go, and I hope it goes great for you. But if not, I gave you some tips on how to get through it. We got the Three of Swords in reverse. It's the heartbreak card in reverse, but this guy's got gears for a heart. Oh my god. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, there is something about this weekend getting, like, it's a little bit, like, mundane and clunky, and it's almost like we have to kind of make sure that everything's kind of working internally in the proper manner, or else we're going to get really weird mentally because we're, like, skipping years emotionally. So we want to, like, get dialed in internally this weekend, be easy on ourselves, and try to really free ourselves internally so that our mind isn't just stumbled up and tripping over things that may or may not exist. Like, we really want to find the root cause of things without, you know, making up too many crazy stories. Let's make up good stories. If we're going to make up anything, make up the best story, right? That isn't putting you in some sense of doubt or guilt or shame over something that you might just even enjoy doing. I don't know. I love you all very much. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday. Much love. Peace.